I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Now my life is full of joy. I know it's good love to toy. I think life can't just get better. My grandma made me a lovely sweater. I'm lying. It's really Rob. Hello and welcome to tonight's episode of Oh, I said I could watch it. Tonight's episode is just playing behind me bad channels. For those of you too young to know what a bad channel is, that's when the vertical and the horizontal, and then you had to sort of. I was beautiful once. I lived in a digs where I was on my own, admittedly, which was very fortunate for myself, in the Dutch quarter of Colchester. Mrs. D has part of the TV was part of the deal with the room. Very much nothing else in it, but heating in the mid-90s was such that I had to sometimes, on occasion, take a hairdryer to the back of the telly for about 5 to 10 minutes and then turn it on, because that's how the cathode ray would be ready to go. It's not all film criticism. I consider this a cultural bomb. Yeah, so Bad Channels was made in 1992. Even then, this is obviously, as I'm sure you can figure out from this dulcet face, not exactly going to be a mum said I could watch it, given it's a 90s movie. This would have been one of the films that came from the 90s rites of passage for a young man, known as joining the video shop a bit further than the one that your parents were members of. You'd go there with your passport. It might even be it was a bus ride away, with the intent of just being able to rent your own films without any concern of anyone else being phoned if they were overdue or late. Particularly if, like myself, at the age of 18 in May 94, was suddenly just found themselves really interested in films such documentaries. I was an avid documentarian at that time of cinema verite. Charlie Band is banned from the comments. So that's where I would have encountered Bad Channels. That's my main memory. Because it would also have films that, at this point, everything had been blockbusted. Is 40 copies of Armageddon and nothing else in. I'm moving around metaphorically, but I think you get it. Bad Channels, for those of you who haven't seen it, spoiler alert, aliens and humans win. The premise is relatively simple, in that it's not about the premise at all. Aliens come down in the midst of a new radio station. Dangerous Dan O'Dare, is this new shock jock. Very Howard Stern, Barry Champagne, talk radio kind of notions here. Very, very 90s at that. And, they have gone for that look. Finds himself trapped in a radio station with these alien beings who are using the signal to hypnotize strong female leads and bring them back, teleport them into like these tiny little jars, shrink in your head kind of thing. He's commentating on it. Meanwhile, people are phoning in thinking that this is all a scam because the radio station is sealed shut. So there is a level where there is a commentary. There is a genuine sense of commentary about Americana, media, and spectacle that's going on, which is pretty typical of a Ted McCloud film, in that Terrorvision was also one of his. But the problem with it is I can't give it a massive rating because it does spend a bit too much on exposition. That it wavers its tone. Plus points are it does hyper Americana this Smallville Pahookie as for what camper van white trash who would be gullible enough maybe to phone in, or who would be suggestible enough to be hypnotized by the whole thing. This is countered by the fact that at the same time there is a news reporting crew, effectively CNN, and it's one of those ones where I'm going to say that's progressive because the bar is so low. So I'm saying today's episode of That's Progressive because the bar is so low is they made the point, really, again, at the time, even at 18, this would have gone past my head, the whole blue-collar, white-collar dynamic of America I wouldn't have understood, wouldn't have been exposed to enough, is that the CNN station, is being run by a particularly urbane, metrosexual breakfast host, African-American breakfast host, Flip Hunter, kind of a Republican sort of tone, which, again, because the bar is so low, no point breaks into any sort of slang or jive, or what I tend to consider an almost the song and dance element for the mainstream white audience. And his love interest is this very Bridget Nielsen type Russian hardcore shoulder pads, blonde, Nordic blonde, Russian, right? And to see that as really the intelligentsia within this film, because they're wry, they're aside, they're living city life, and they've sent out Working Class Lisa to try and cover the story, gives this great parity, because I know where I'd rather be. I'd rather be with Flip in the studio wearing a really nice suit with a Valkyrie next to me. I don't want to be in, Cookie's cafeteria. I don't want to be in Bunny's sweatbox gym. I don't even that hospital. Well, actually, I would like to be in the hospital, but Melissa Behr is phenomenal in the role. I think it totally deserves an Oscar. I can see why she was picked up for other films after Charlie Bond is banned from the comments. So the film itself follows the station, and at each point, but the reason why I'm having issues with it is there is a massive 10-15 minutes where Dan O'Dare is trying to flirt with Lisa, the journalist who's been sent there, the Buster Hump rookie journalist trying to make a name for herself. He hasn't rigged the competition with Flip, but then suddenly he has, but he only did it because he wanted to meet her. That's all creepy as hell. It's all creepy as hell, this weird dynamic of will they, won't they. It really would have worked, Ted, if you had just made it she was his ex, right, and made a life for herself. And he regrets it. That would have cut down so much more of that. This would have brought this film down. Okay, yes, it's 88 minutes, but we've already discovered from the previous episode, Trance has managed 77 of a relationship, and it was lean, and it was believable, and, Jack Def loved her, Ted. He loved her. So it takes about half an hour before you have the first musical interval. Now, you've got 3 big music tracks in here. Blue Oyster Cult. I think Danzig, I'm not too sure. You got the brass band behind me, and the jokes are very much arguably punching up because this is Rust Belt America. Arguably punching down because it's that camper van, snobbery. Except for Manic Depresso, which I started with in the beginning, because that is an absolute jewel of a track. Manic Depresso is really get the film. Rent the film would be worth £2-3 of your money, even if you just watch that. Bunny, Cookie, even Ginger particularly is in the Manic Depresso one. She is the character who actually, of the 3 abductees, has the most lines before it happens because she's in the hospital. She does the most vigorous dance moves, actually ending up without a uniform and being in a nightie and stockings, which they commit to for the rest of the film. That shows honesty and commitment, Ted. Well done, Ted. Charlie, you are banned from the comments. So once you get into some of the hackneyed stuff, like the aliens are both incredibly well designed, but incredibly well produced. Incredibly well produced. But they have been done by designs which were done with a crayon and a 9-year-old. So they're incredibly childish, yet absurdly impactful at the same time, as physical effects often are. The ending, the denouement, is slightly hackneyed, but ultimately it's a pulp film. I think it would have worked better as just cutting straight to the music videos. Lisa, I'm sorry to say, if you'd cut that whole romantic interest, by consequence, if you had actually cut Flip and the Valkyrie, I don't think much. Actually, it's a hard one. I think if you got rid of them, you lose a lot of the breadth that it's not just about representation. It is about breadth of this is a small town and how media works. The Cop adds something in terms of how the censorship and the need to control hysteria. So you have real story elements there. It still comes down to 3 music videos that you buy into or you don't. I buy into it. I do. It's not. There has been a high bar so far. I would say there are some serious structural weaknesses that you can't. You just don't. There's a bit too much exposition. There's a bit. It does outstay its welcome by about a good 10 minutes. But you know what? As I'm often saying, there's TV shows out there that outstay their welcome by a good season and a half. GOT. I'd say check it out. I'd say it's got the right level of effects pop. It really is about those tunes. It is 90s, pre-Varna, really, with the exception of Manic Depresso. It is hair metal. It is Blue Oyster Cult. But this is giving that a platform in a way that you wouldn't get otherwise. And it was worth getting the 155 back. So I would say Bad Channels is a £2, £3 rental easily. Do check it out. I definitely enjoyed watching it. And, you know, technically speaking, particularly because of any character, Ginger goes on to be a lead. Shut up. A lead in Dollman vs. Demonic Toys, which, as we all know, is very much the Avengers of the Full Mooniverse, being that it links Dollman, Demonic Toys, and Bad Channels, although they retcon the ending of this so that it's Ginger, not Cookie, who's there. Contractual differences. Multiverse. It's a multiverse, so that's fine. That's absolutely fine. I think the story of Ginger, Melissa Behr, is fantastic. Directed her own films, you know. Anyway, yeah, do check it out, and really do check it out. If you don't do anything else, check out, right, Psychotic Symphony, Manic Depressor. Just do that. Just do that for the Devonator, okay? No Patreon, no like, no subscribe, no comment. If you do leave a comment, leave a link to Manic Depresso with the 2 words, job done. And thank you for your time.